if we're going to dive into some fun topics, so do you have any overlooked crude markets that will come in the next 10 years? There's always talk about, Africa, India, but do you see anything that makes you curious, giving the future projections?
Most definitively. So India is one. I think people need to look at, and this is just not oil, it's also coal as well and other. There are actually things going on in India. India's demand for hydrocarbons and, in any which shape or form you want to look at, has grown tremendously. This is a hugely populous country, it's comparable to China. They've gone from being kind of 3 to 4 million barrels per day of oil imports, now kind of flirting with 5 and north of 5 million barrels per day. I think why people are ignoring India is because they geographically are so close to the biggest source of oil in the world, being Middle East. But we see them source oil, like other countries start to do when their demand reaches a certain level. They need to diversify the oil flows, because you can't run a country on oil from one source. Then secondly, on the supply side, Guyana is, very few people actually know where even Guyana is. I've actually been there. It's a country that, has found a lot of oil, and it's the same, this is probably why, well, as we've heard, Venezuela are claiming kind of rights to some of that oil, because it's basically the same offshore shelf, if that's the right word, that Brazil sits on and Venezuela also has. So and if you put South America and Africa together, it fits. So basically this continental shelves drifted apart, but the oil deposits are of similar character. So Guyana as a producer is big.
Very good. So from your perspective, the most impressive tanker or shipping company besides Frontline?
No, I've always liked the way DHT conduct themselves in the market. It's obviously close to home because they're literally our neighbors here in Oslo. But I kind of I like extremely disciplined, a bit different than Frontline, but they have a very disciplined strategy on how they work their markets. But I must say, and I probably shouldn't be allowed to say that, but I also like as a kind of a big marketer of shipping as an industry in the equity markets is obviously Scorpio. Not necessarily in all KPIs, but by being kind of a very dynamic and outspoken company. But I think people have kind of not really noticed what Hafnia is doing. They have a big fleet. They're specifically into at least what's been kind of the best parts of the markets for the last couple of years. Similarly, potentially international seaways, but they have an older tonnage on the clean side. But I guess I'll have to stop there.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. So if you look at the next generation coming up, you also have interns sometimes. You see a lot of talent coming through the system. So what are the most important skills from your perspective you see that this next generation needs to master?
Well, what I've seen, and we do have interns, and we have young people in the office. The skill that, and it's not lacking at all, but the very important skill in shipping is to be outgoing and make friends. Be active, kind of in getting to know people, because shipping is not a profession you can be in and sit in your cubicle and kind of study charts or read news. You actually need to go out there, and you need to connect to people. You need to get to know people. You need to travel. Regretfully, not everyone comes to Norway. This is actually not the center of the world. So you need to get out into the real world or the big world.
Ref Guyana, you've been there, right?
Yes, and you know, you go to, well, not necessarily that's the most important destination, but I think young people today, you know, shipping is a profession you can't combine easily with, say, being the best on Strava, or you know, having a huge interest for, you know, kind of well, something that takes a lot of time, because most, you know, your job is borderline your hobby, or it has to be. Otherwise, you probably won't be able to spend enough time kind of doing, you know, getting into the position where you have kind of all these connections, where you get all the kind of unstructured information that makes you able to make good decisions.
That's a great answer. This is a very hard question, but I'll try to ask it. If you could project yourself backwards and start your career again, would you pair that knowledge you have today with something else? Whether that's, you know, human behavior, technology. Is there any skill that you would love to have today that you would, if you started over again, spend time learning? Because I find the best people have a unique combination of several skills, and they put it together and become very effective, if you understand that question.
Yeah. No, I not that it necessarily you know, hinders me a lot, but I think it's, you know, law has become so important in this industry, and in any industry really. You know, I'm so old that when I applied for university, you know, going to the university there to study law was actually open. You know, you didn't even need to, well, you obviously need to apply, but everybody would get in. And I remember the story was that, well, we have more lawyers in the university than people that are actually practicing law, and that market is going to go, you know, it's going to be, you're going to be an unemployed lawyer when you get out. But how wrong were we, kind of? So I think kind of, you know, I did business school. Obviously, you have some classes in law, but you know, if I was going to kind of do all that again, I'd probably spend a bit more time on the legal aspects of things, because it's this is obviously services we need to buy now, but it's become a very important, regretfully, I would say, part of our industry.
That's a great answer. So one new technology that you believe can transform the shipping industry. Now we see so many attempts on decarbonizing shipping. It's very hard to make bets, of course, but have you seen something that makes you curious, whether that's carbon capture, putting sails on the ships again? Do you see any things where you're like, okay, maybe, let's see?
No, it's, I think, and you know, we have a very kind of skillful CTO in Frontline, and he's always said it's going to be a combination of things. And I think that's exactly what we're witnessing. So, you know, you have kind of air lubrication, where you basically blow air under the hull. You have rotor sails. You have carbon capture. I think kind of a lot of these things are going to kind of come together. I think one realization that many people have probably had the last year is that, you know, the green fuels is good. You know, shipping is such a small part of the demand side for green fuels, you know, being, for instance, ammonia, that, you know, are we going to get access to it? So basically, you know, yes, of course, having the, you know, the ships are not built solely for ammonia, you know, it's dual fuel engines. So you keep your options open, but are we going to get access to cheap green fuels in the shipping industry, competing with all the other industries that actually, you know, demand the same fuels? So this has probably put people more into the camp where, okay, let's look at all the other options we have, and then obviously ultimately you have nuclear. But you know, and these are the things that where you make small differences. You know, for carbon you can capture maybe 10% of the carbon you emit. Air lubrication maybe gives you 5% less, you know, consumption. Rotor sails maybe another 5%, and gradually you kind of you get there, at least within reasonable period of time. you get there. But also, you know, I think now that and Øystein is going to hate me for this, but now that you know, LNG is kind of so cheap, you can actually look at that as dual fuel as well. So the case is maybe coming back. No, so but again, I think it's a combination of things. I don't believe in one single technology, to be quite honest.